What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be breaking down the latest tear-jerking events in the Boku no Hero story, including the extremely emotional confrontation between the new Dark Avenger Deku and his former classmates from Class 1A. Is Deku going to continue slowly killing himself as he tries to do everything and save everyone on his own? Or is he finally going to accept the fact that he cannot survive without the help of his friends? Let's get into it. If you enjoyed the Boku no Hero content on this channel and you want us to keep it going, do me a favor and leave a quick like and comment. It's a totally free way to support this channel with that YouTube algorithm. And if you're new to AnimeUproar, or maybe you watch our videos but you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. Finally, this video will contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution, you have been warned. At the end of the previous chapter, a broken and exhausted Deku was narrowly saved by Bakugo from being dogpiled to death. Bakugo took down the villain known as Dictator, who was controlling a bunch of innocent civilians and forcing them to attack a severely outnumbered Deku. As I mentioned in my previous video, the villain known as Dictator had literally the perfect quirk for fighting someone like Deku. His quirk allowed him to take control of a bunch of innocent civilians and force them to do his bidding. And since these were all innocent everyday people who were being forced to attack Deku against their will, Deku couldn't fight back against them. He didn't want to hurt anyone who's innocent and didn't do anything wrong, so Deku was basically helpless in the face of so many people swarming him while he was already in a completely exhausted state. Luckily for Deku, Bakugo showed up just in the nick of time and he took the villain out before Deku was stomped to death. But this situation really exposed Deku's greatest weakness. Deku expects too much from himself. He wants to do everything on his own without putting anyone else in danger. He wants to save everyone, no matter the cost to his own body. He refuses to take a break while there are innocent people out there who might need his help. And so, Deku is constantly overexerting and overextending himself, which is putting his own life at serious risk. The latest chapter begins with a flashback that explains how Bakugo came to be in the right place at the right time to save Deku in the previous chapter. Just a few days after Deku first left the UA, the Class 1A students were not happy about his decision, so they called a meeting inside their dorm to discuss what their next step should be. Right from the get-go, the Class 1A students suspected that Deku was working together with the top 3 pro heroes. But they couldn't confirm this because all those heroes refused to tell them anything. Based on how sketchy the top 3 heroes were acting, and based on All Might's behavior as well, Bakugo and the others concluded that Deku must be working with All Might, Endeavor, Hawks, and Best Jeanist behind the scenes. Even though the media was reporting that only the top 3 heroes had teamed up, the students suspected that they were all working together with Deku and All Might. So the students decided to dig deeper, and eventually they got pushy with Principal Nezu in order to get the truth. The students convinced Nezu to summon Endeavor to the school, and when he arrived, Endeavor was cornered by the Class 1A students. The students demanded to know the truth about their friend and classmate Deku, and Tododroki even pulls the father-son card on Endeavor. Because Tododroki knows his father so well, he is able to determine from Endeavor's facial expression that the top 3 heroes are indeed secretly working with Deku and All Might. And that's when Bakugo steps in and issues a warning to Endeavor. The heroes do not know Deku as well as his friends do. Deku is the type of person who always sacrifices himself for the sake of others. Even when he is seriously injured, exhausted, and on the verge of death, Deku will always say that he's okay and that he can keep going. In that way, Deku is very similar to All Might, and if they allow Deku to keep doing things his way, he will probably get himself killed. Bakugo knows that if they want to keep Deku safe, they have to keep up with him and watch over him. If they let Deku do everything on his own, in his own way, he's almost certainly going to push himself too far and then he won't be able to help anyone anymore. If Deku dies or gets seriously injured, then how is he going to become a great hero? How is he going to save all of those people who need his help? We all know that Deku's motivations are pure. He just really wants to help people, but he is too short-sighted. Even if he ends up helping more people in the short term by risking his life over and over again, at this rate he won't be able to help anyone in the long term because he's gonna get himself killed. Endeavor seems to understand where the students are coming from because he ends up giving them a GPS tracker that will allow them to keep tabs on Deku. That is how Bakugo was able to find Deku and save him from Dictator in that crucial moment. Bakugo and the other Class 1A students have been watching out for Deku from a distance, and when they saw that he had finally reached his limit, his classmates decided to act. Now that we've seen this flashback, it makes the moment in which Bakugo shows up to help Deku even more wholesome, because we now know that the Class 1A students have been watching over Deku for some time. And it's not just Bakugo who came here to help Deku. All of Class 1A is here, and they immediately start helping all the innocent civilians who were caught up in the clutches of Dictator. The exhausted Deku asks his former classmates why they are here, and Ochaco says that it's because they were worried about him. I actually loved Ochaco in this chapter, but I'll talk about her a little bit later. Deku tries to tell all the Class 1A students that he's okay and they should just stay away from him. Since he knows that he is the main target for the villains, Deku doesn't want his friends anywhere near him. He doesn't want anyone to get hurt because of him, so he tells them that he can't look back. He has to keep moving, and they all need to stay out of his way. But Deku's classmates refuse to back off. In the final panel of the chapter, we see Bakugo, Ida, and Ochaco standing their ground and refusing to get out of Deku's way. And that is how the chapter ends, with what looks like a looming confrontation between Deku and his classmates. But will Deku really try to fight his friends in order to get them to back off? Definitely not. I just can't see that happening. Deku would never seriously fight someone like Ochaco, and frankly, he wouldn't seriously fight any of his classmates. Now, Deku might try to get away from them, but with how injured and exhausted he currently is, there is no way that he will be able to outrun 19 people who are determined to keep him there. Although you never know, he might unlock the last quirk and it ends up being a speed quirk or a teleportation quirk or something, but I just don't see him being able to get away in his current condition. So, it looks like Deku is finally going to learn an extremely important lesson. No matter how strong he is, no matter how dedicated he is, and no matter how hard he pushes himself, in the end, he simply cannot do everything on his own. He has to accept the help of others, including the help of his classmates. That is the safest and most effective way to save as many innocent people as possible. I mean, sure, yes, if the other Class 1A students stay with Deku, there is a risk that some of them might get hurt at some point in the future. Some of them might even die at the hands of one of the villains who are targeting Deku. But that is the harsh reality of being a hero. And since Deku continues to be the best chance that the heroes have of defeating the villains, since Deku has pretty much become the symbol of hope for everyone, Deku's classmates cannot allow him to get himself killed, as he almost did just now at the hands of Dictator. Deku is too important to them as individuals, and also to the hero society as a whole, and I think it's about time for Deku to realize that. Personally, I think that Deku was deeply traumatized by the events in Jakku, and also by the chaos that erupted across Japan after All for One's prison break. Deku saw so many people dying and suffering, and he felt terrible about not being able to help them. So because he doesn't want his friends and loved ones to have to go through that kind of suffering, he is trying to protect them and take all the responsibility for defeating the villains on himself. However, Deku needs to look at the current situation realistically. We are not talking about petty criminals or minor villains here. We're talking about the villain mastermind All for One and his minions. We are talking about the monster that is Awakened Shigaraki. And we are talking about who knows how many other overpowered villains who escaped Tartarus and are now stalking the streets of Japan. No matter how hard Deku tries, he cannot defeat all of those enemies on his own. All Might tried to do everything he could on his own to save everyone and be the symbol of peace, and that worked well while All Might was the strongest hero and in his prime. But as we know, after All Might retired, the society that relied on him so heavily ended up falling apart. Society cannot and should not depend on one man alone, and that is a lesson that Deku needs to learn. Oh, by the way, how awesome was Ochaco in this chapter? She was willing to stand up to the school administration, to the pro heroes, and even to Deku himself in order to protect him. She might as well have said, "Deku, if you die, then you can't become my husband, you baka." I definitely enjoyed seeing Ochaco's assertiveness in this chapter, and I'm really curious to see how this confrontation between her and Deku will turn out. But let me know what you guys think. Is Deku going to actually try to force his way past his friends? Or is he finally going to come to his senses and work together with them? Don't forget to share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Boku no Hero content right here on the channel, just leave a like and comment. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. And if you're new to AnimeUproar, or maybe you watch our videos but you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You really have to go through the trouble of subscribing, hitting the bell, and then selecting the option that says all. I know it's annoying, it's an extra step, but if you don't do that, then you're still gonna miss a ton of our videos, even if you are subscribed. It's just how YouTube works. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. I want to give a big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons for making videos like this one possible. Special thank you to Alpha Sigma. He is an absolute mad lad and disciple of Lord Twigo himself. And I can't forget all of our The One tier patrons, the ones who rise above all other clans, including Ingrata, Pate Hefa, Aljatal, Hinokami and Water, The Toasted Chi, The Spike, Emperor Otaku, Spidey Life Tanel, Tungsten Tarkus, Baked Buddhist, Cody Hebert, and Monkey D. Quilly. Finally, thank you also to our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, the Red-Haired Raven, Angel Cruz, Rathuin Deora, Very Gucci, Alicia Akhtar, Bonnie Parks, Joanne Garcia, Ted No Ted, Fatboy Games, Corey McGowan, and Soul Ray Slice and Dice. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value to you, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these legendary people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.